Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 34 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil Callin. Thank you to everyone who's listened to all of our previous episodes. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome along and thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we like to try and keep you up to date with what's going on in theatre in the Isle of Man and chat to the cast and creatives of upcoming shows to find out a little bit more about the shows and the people behind them.
Coming up on this week's podcast,
I chat with Chris and Susannah Maybury of Yn Draamey Community Theatre ahead of their production of an adaptation of Roald Dahl's The Witches. You can still listen to all of our previous episodes through all the usual podcast outlets and at manxradio.com/podcasts. While you're there, make sure to subscribe, give us a like, rate and leave a little review to share with all your friends. Once again, it's been a few busy weeks since our last episode with Parados Theatre Company's wonderful production of Much Ado About Nothing, Madford's Easter Festival of full-length plays. This past week has seen the return of the Manx Festival of Music and Dance, otherwise known as the Guild, which saw many of Manx Theatre's well-known names competing and taking the silver home in many classes. This year's Cleveland Gold Medal winner was Paul Costain, who is also no stranger to the Gaiety Theatre. The Douglas Choral Union have also recently launched their DCU choir. Following the success of the choir in their recent production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, they've decided to keep it going through the off-season between shows. It's on every Thursday evening from 7:30 to 9:30pm, and membership to the choir is £15 a year for DCU members and £30 a year for non-members. You can get more information by emailing dcuchoir@outlook.com. Whilst we're talking about the DCU, they've recently announced their production team for their 2023 production of Mel Brooks' Young Frankenstein. Returning to her role as musical director will be the wonderful Liz Dixon, and she'll be joined by Sarah Holland as assistant director. New to the DCU, but not to the island, is professional director and choreographer Scott St. Martin. Theatre goers may recognise some of Scott's previous work with the Manx Operatic Society in their productions of Titanic the Musical, Hot Mikado, Anything Goes and Grand Hotel. On the subject of the Manx Operatic Society, they'll soon be announcing their production team for their 2023 production of Curtains. They're currently in the final stages of securing their director-choreographer, who I've been told will be brand new to the Isle of Man, having never worked here before. So watch this space. Hot off the press, we also have an exciting announcement from Taylorian Productions, who have just announced that they've secured Kinky Boots for their August 2023 production. And Two Feathers Productions have announced that following their production of The Full Monty in 2023, they'll be following that up with a production of Jersey Boys in 2024, which tells the story of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. The show will once again keep John Cumberledge out of retirement as he is, subject to contract, on board to stage and direct. Also, following the success of their production of Much Ado About Nothing, Parados Theatre Company have announced that for Easter 2024, they'll be putting on a production of The Two Gentlemen of Verona. So that's another great one to look forward to. Make sure to keep up to date with what's going on between episodes by following Manx Theatre Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram, and at Manx Theatre Pod on Twitter.
you're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast with Neil Callin.
Okay, down to business. I'm joined on the podcast today by Chris and Susannah Maybury from Yn Draamey Community Theatre. Chris, Susannah, welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Thank you.
Nice to be here.
It's nice to have you along. For those people who haven't heard about Yn Draamey, can you tell us a little bit about the company and how you were set up?
We were set up because I wanted to do a project where the kids didn't have to pay to join. And even now, they don't have to pay to join, and we don't ask them for anything ever. Really, just so that everyone gets a crack at it.
Yeah.
Because if you can't afford drama lessons, then you're going to be finding it quite difficult to join anything because you don't get through the audition process.
Yeah.
Now, what we do is we take them on and train them. So even if there's no experience or training, we train them and point them in the right direction. And no matter what level they're at when they join us, we look at how we can take them that little bit further and keep them progressing.
Brilliant. You're working up towards then a production of The Witches at
Yes.
the Gaiety Theatre next week, so that's the 11th and 12th of May.
That's right.
So is that Tuesday, Wednesday next week?
It's Wednesday,
Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday, okay. This is not the first time that you tried to do it, is it?
No, but it did meet a sticky end. We got it stage ready and everyone was very excited. And then the night before, COVID hit everybody. So we had to pack all the stuff into our garage, send all the kids home and go home and sulk for a little while. And actually, we nearly didn't do it again. We thought maybe that was the universe telling us to leave it.
Yeah.
But actually, it just kept knocking at the brain. And I've wanted to do it for years. So I didn't want to leave it. And I hate leaving things unfinished. So we thought, we'll just see if there's any call for kids coming and doing this. And there was. We've got a lovely new cast. So off we go again.
Great. So was it a victim of 2020's lockdown, or is it a more recent lockdown that saw it off?
Well, after the first lockdown, we stepped away and thought we weren't ever going to do it again.
Yeah.
It's really as simple as that.
Yeah.
And
our cast had moved on.
Yeah.
I mean, our original Bruno is now nearly 6 feet tall, so he couldn't be Bruno again this time.
That's the problem with kids, isn't it? They tend to grow.
Yeah, but he's come back and he's playing Mr. Jenkins for us. So and that's nice. And we have a fantastic cast who have come from various schools, various community group, other drama groups who have come along and looking for an opportunity to be to take that one step further.
Yeah.
Into a named part, into a part with more meat, doing a bit of multi-rolling, that type of thing, and trying a piece of theatre in a different style.
Yeah.
And our style is very much open stage. It's a lot of physical theatre, a lot of comedy, and we started out working with the director Scott Lacrasse.
Right.
Great director. Unfortunately, the stars haven't aligned this time round for us, mainly because during lockdown he went and got himself successful.
All right. How dare he?
Yeah, he's been working with Maureen Lipman.
Oh wow!
Doing you might have seen it on Sky Arts, a show called Rose, a one-woman show.
Yeah,
brilliant show, and that sort of opened up doors for him. And unfortunately, much as we all tried to get things to sort of line up, it just wouldn't happen.
He is still heavily involved.
Yes.
He loves the concept, and although we were really a bit low key for him even then, he loved the concept and wanted to work with us, and will work with us in the future. I'm happy to say.
Yes. Oh, well, that's wonderful. So, obviously, it's an adaptation of the original Roald Dahl book. I think, obviously, he hasn't written any lately because he's not been around for a while. But
he's been a bit dead. Really,
yeah, well, he has a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I remember reading it as a child, so that's quite a few years ago. But there has been two quite large films, actually, wasn't there? There was back in the 90s. There was one with Angelica Houston as the head witch, and then I think Anne Hathaway a couple of years ago.
Indeed.
Yes,
and I think you haven't met our witches. They're equally terrifying.
Oh.
And what's great is that there are no inhibitions.
Yeah.
Our young actors have sort of just grabbed it, and they're going for it. And whatever you ask them to do, they just do it. We are our young men, Boy and Bruno, who are turned into mice. The mice are puppets.
Yeah.
We are not hiding them on stage. We're sort of going down the Avenue Q version.
Yes.
Way of doing things. And once they got their head around the idea of, I see, the puppet is actually me.
Yes.
They were there, and they have imbued those puppets with life and personality.
Yeah.
And these are 11 and 12-year-old boys. And they are just going for it. And immense talent coming out, and enthusiasm. It's wonderful.
Brilliant.
And one of the things that they particularly loved and could hardly believe when we told them, they said, "Who are the adults then?" Because we'd auditioned them and we'd started to rehearse.
Yeah.
And they were a bit confused. And I said, "Well, there aren't adults." And they said, "So it's just us?" I said, "Yeah, you're the stars."
Yeah.
And something magic happened to them.
Wow.
They really, really went for it, didn't they?
Yeah, they stepped up.
Yeah.
They stepped up. And it's the same way. I'm asking these young actors to walk off the stage as one character and walk straight back on, virtually as a completely different character.
Yeah.
Sometimes with a costume change, but very often it is simply body language, change of voice,
Hat.
Yeah, but and we have some young men involved in this who quite happily roll up and become witches for one scene because we have to carry the boy around the stage and stuff. And they walk on, they do that, and then they walk back off again and become a head waiter and Bruno's dad. They are They're fearless.
Brilliant.
And I wish I'd been that fearless when I was their age. I think I actually might have been. I think mainly because I didn't realise just how exposing the stuff can be. You just, I've been asked to do that. I'll do that then. That's fine.
Yeah.
And they're screamingly funny.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of fun. It's been an absolute laugh.
Yeah, we've been in the Scout Hut up in Onken, big booming echoes, saying, "My God, the noise!" It's been great. There's 13 of them, and they've become a family, as you do.
Yeah.
With a cast, they become a family. They've sort of adopted familial roles, haven't they?
Yes.
And it's the annoying little brothers and the long-suffering uncles, and the girls who think they're way more sophisticated than they actually are. That kind of stuff is great.
Yeah. So, for those people who probably don't know the Witches or probably don't remember the Witches, it's been a long time since they've been involved in it. What's the basic story?
Right. Like most of Roald Dahl stuff is incredibly dark.
Yes.
Incredibly dark. Because it starts out with the boy's parents being killed in a car accident.
Happy days.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
And it goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
And he goes to live with his grandmother, and his grandmother then becomes really ill, and they were supposed to be going to Norway, and they end up going to Bournemouth. So he goes to Bournemouth, and while they're at Bournemouth, they discover that's the great convention of all the witches in Great Britain are having their
AGM.
Their AGM,
right?
And that's they are planning to turn all children in the UK into mice.
Right. Okay.
And of course, the two young boys are turned into mice, and that's irrevocable.
Yeah.
There is not going to be no sort of unhappily ever after. Ding.
Yeah.
Here we go. No, they're going to stay as mice, and through all kinds of planning and daring, they managed to reverse the plan, and the witches are turned into mice. But there's this very poignant thing. It's a real poignant ending where Grandmama, and the boy are in Grandmama's chair, the boy mouse, and they're talking, and he says, "How long do mice live?" And she says, "Well, not very long, a few years." And Grandmama, "How long are you going to live?" And she said, "Well, not very long." So, "Well, that's fine. We'll die together."
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like, oh. And but that's Roald Dahl for you. He
doesn't sugar the pill, does
No,
he?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. He was never one to sugarcoat the story
No.
for the kids.
No.
No, you will be dead at the end of this story.
Yeah.
And when they realised, again, as we did the read-throughs, when the kids realised there was no happy ending, well, there was a happy ending, and there was a victory, but it's not like, and then everything went back to the way it was before.
Yeah.
And there is mortality involved in it, and there is an acknowledgement of the human condition, or the mouse condition, as it turns out. It took them a little while to get their head around it, because they were actually looking for the happy ending. They were looking at us, and then no, that's it. That's the end. And then they go, "Oh, that's a bit grown up. That is.
Yeah.
That's not some kiddies play. This is dark stuff."
Yeah.
And they've run with that. They really enjoyed that.
Yeah, they have. And they've done exactly as we've told them, pretty much, which is a first.
Well, they have so far, but they haven't gone to the theatre yet, have we?
Probably more so than an adult company might do.
Oh, yeah. Adult companies, they argue with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Terribly behaved.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So how did you both get started then? What sort of set you off down your own drama pathway?
Oh, it was an accident.
Yeah.
It was an accident. I've always been a dance teacher. I've taught dance since I was 16. And one day a boy came to class and he said, "This is a bit boring. Can we not just do a play?" So, okay. Anything really to keep the students.
Yeah.
And we put on a thing called Sammy's Magic Garden, and that was the first one we did. I don't even know what year that was. I think it was about 2001.
Right.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
And so we did quite a few after that, and have just kept going, really.
Yeah.
It's just such a lovely way to spend your days, you know. I mean, young people are joyous nearly all the time.
Yeah.
And theatre is joyous once you get it on the stage.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, up to then it's like waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning with the collywobbles, but once you get it on there, it's good fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes into behind the scenes, and
Yeah.
that's something that people come to see the shows don't always realise, that it's taken 4 or 5 months to get to this point, and lots of
and again, they shouldn't see it.
Yeah.
The ideal is that they see the swan, not the feet paddling away
Yes.
like mad. And I mean, it's all of these things were before Susannah and I had met, and I was working at Bala at the time, and doing the stuff that I was doing up there. And when we met, it was like, so you're Mr. Maybury, because your students, we had students in common, were saying, well, no, I can't come to rehearsal tonight because I'm doing this play for Mr. Maybury, and we're doing and
Yeah, so I had to marry him.
in
just
order
to get the diaries to coincide. Yeah.
to eliminate the competition. So I've always known that was the way it was, and. But so yes, I arrived on the island over here 20 years ago, thereabouts, and I was hired as a drama teacher. But my major brief was that I was going to put shows on at the school. Yeah, and so I started out with one, and I ended up doing 2 shows a year, which is why I've gone grey, and love it. And the other thing that I was hired for was to write them. Yeah. So I wrote the shows, and then Nick Roberts and I, music teacher, we wrote shows together and musicals together. And partly, what was great about doing that particular thing is that I had around me a repertory company, an ever replacing itself repertory company of young people who wanted to do shows. And very often I would be not really have an idea. Then I would look at the people I had and go, right, I know what I can do with these people. So I go away and write these things. And very often I'd be writing on the fly and doing things like trying a scene out with them and saying, well, that didn't work. And going away to my little house in Cronky where I was at the time, and rewriting it all and coming back the next day and trying it all out again. And it was... that was a golden period.
And that sort of period in time as well, that the students that were coming through then were quite a cracking bunch as well, because you had David Dawson, there was Olivia O'Shea, Elliot Baxter, Ted Farragher, and Peter Wicks. Great.
Tony Eccles.
Yes.
And they're all sort of...
Peter Shimon.
Yeah. Everybody's sort of coming back into the mix. And it's... And that's great. I mean, that is great. I mean, that's... why you go into teaching. The object of being a teacher is really that your students should go away and should come back better than you were. Yes. That's the whole deal. I don't like to say that personally, but they should come back with any skills that you've managed to help them to work on, plus their own experiences. Yes. And they should be the next step up and the next generation taking on the mantle. So we see Dave Dawson, who's directing everything. Yes. At the moment, he's everywhere and doing stuff. And I put him in a show called Too Many Goodbyes, playing a farmer called William Wallace Webster. Right. And when he was year 9, year 10, I think, and he was, and you could see he went click. This is what I want to do. This is the thing. This is the thing.
Well, I remember him coming down to join the Manx Operatic Society, which would have been 2002, and he must have only been about 14 at the time.
Because he came in for Dolly, didn't he?
Yes, he came in for Hello Dolly, yes. I'm pretty sure that was his first one anyway. So, and you worked on that. That was the first time I crossed paths.
That's right.
Or even paths crossed.
Yeah, I was brought in as a dialogue coach. Yeah. The idea was I was supposed to get everybody to speak New York. Yeah. And
Yonkers.
Yeah, Yonkers. And it's funny. I was thinking about that show the other day, because I was remembering the scene in which Dolly is basically haranguing you and Barnaby No, you were Barnaby.
I was Barnaby. Cornelius, yes. Barnaby and Cornelius, yeah.
And you were hiding under the table.
Yes.
And we did that bit because we were having fun putting things in when the director was away. We were putting stuff in. And we got you repeating all these legal terms with increasing confusion, including words like garnishy.
Yeah.
What's a garnishy? And God, we had fun with that.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
I think that was one of the first shows where we had a full set of head radio mics as well.
Yeah.
So I could quite happily sort of sit under the table and just be muttering away to myself.
Yeah. And it was picked up. And what's the lovely thing about being a director, a performer, but certainly a director, when you look at something on the stage and you've worked on it and you've tweaked it and you've done look, you need a quarter turn there, just a quarter turn. Can you just wait? Can you just wait for that look? Can you wait for that? Can you wait? Just give me that line so it just overlaps with something else. And then the audience get it. Yeah. And you are aiming for a laugh. You are aiming to make them cry. You are aiming to shock them. And it's happening. And you go, they got that. Yeah. They got it.
The hair's going your...
Oh, yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. That's why I'm still doing it. No, that and I can't think of anything else to do. It keeps me off the streets, doesn't it?
Just about.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Actually, it's about skills as well. We've got a slightly different take on all this because Chris has always been heavily involved in theatre, but I've always been a classical ballet teacher, and it's a different approach because in classical dance everything's black and white. It doesn't lend itself immediately to drama. But the reason I got very excited about the whole concept is because the skills that are being passed on to those children, or the adults, because this is open to everybody, enables them. It gives them a positive outlook. Theatre people know how to tackle things. Yes. And how not to let life sink them. And I think just now we really need that.
There's a confidence that it brings to you, and
it does.
And also, I suppose, with the dance element in it as well, there's a way of holding yourself. There's that centering and the core strength and things like that, which helps you work better on a stage as well.
The confidence, and it's problem solving. Yeah, it's constant problem solving. And I'm constantly saying to students, it's a practical problem with a practical solution. Yeah. Yes, we're doing all the emotional stuff, but at some point we had to make sure that you are on stage left because you've got to get off there because there's a costume change, there's something, and it is constantly thinking about how do we make that happen and make it look like it's supposed to happen. Yes.
And in fact, this cast have become highly proactive. They are thinking ahead all the time, which they weren't doing when they first came in. But it's evolved. Yeah. And we can now trust them to do exactly what they're meant to do. And if it goes wrong, they think ahead and work out how to resolve it.
Exactly. I mean, just in Sweeney Todd, which happened recently, I think it was the very last night of the show, and I knew something wasn't right. I knew I was missing something in my costume wasn't right, and I was missing something. And it wasn't until the start of... just before the start of Pirelli's Miracle Elixir, there's the big shaving competition. And I walked forward and I walked down and I walked into the front and I just went to put my hand on my belt where my whistle should have been and it wasn't there. And I thought, okay, what can I do? And I thought, as the Beadle, I had to give the whistle to start the thing. And so I moved around and I gave a little bit of a glance at it and I walked into the corner and I'm stood there thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And I thought, actually, I've got quite a lot of time here before I actually needed to be on for that bit. So I just sort of had a quick wander round, walked off stage like that's what I was supposed to do, ran to the dressing room, picked up my own whistle, came back down, waited for the appropriate moment, walked back on, looked around people and went back to my position.
Oh, well done. and round of applause for that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Something goes wrong or something goes right, but it's how do you either put that right or exploit what has happened. And you make a benefit out of something that's gone wrong. Yeah. Because, and we all know that in rehearsal sometimes you're doing stuff, you just try stuff, and then by accident something goes. That's the way. That's the one.
That works. Let's keep that in. One. Yeah.
Remember that because I won't.
In the process of telling people about Yn Draamey, I've spoken to a lot of employers. And they all say the same thing about drama kids. When they get into the workplace, they're the people you want to have.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter if they haven't got the specific skills you're looking for. They learn them.
Yeah.
Their brains are better. They're good at memorising. They're good at using their initiative. They're proactive and they're positive. And you want people like that around you if you're an employer.
Not afraid to stand up in front of a crowd of people and talk and present.
Precisely.
And on top of that, in my days when I was still out auditioning and doing stuff, all actors, if you're asked if you've got a skill, you say yes.
Yes.
Can you write? Yep. Can you do that? Yep. Of course I can. Yep. Doing it for years, and then you go away and you learn how to do it as quickly as you possibly can, and come back not only having learned the basics of it, but because you're an actor, because you're a performer, you make it look good.
Yeah.
And you make it look like you've been doing it forever.
David Artis told us about this on a previous episode where he was saying about he'd sort of back around sort of 2000 when the film industry was quite big on the island. He'd got quite a few little bit parts and he'd lied every time about things that he could do, whether it's speaking German or riding horses.
Yeah,
or
precisely. And speaking of David Artis, he is actually our official patron.
Oh, marvellous.
Yeah.
Which is marvellous.
Yeah.
We're really, really grateful to him for coming on board.
Because as we know, Artie came up through the through the societies and the youth stuff, and worked his way through from the small parts up to where he is now. And if things hadn't been the way they are on the Isle of Man, probably he would have gone down that same route. But would he have had the opportunities to do so?
Yeah.
And what's happened with the big societies, the DCU and the Ops, things have got very big.
Yeah.
They've got very big and they've got very expensive.
Yes.
And there's a lot of money when you're putting something on at the Gaiety at that level. There's a lot of money riding on this.
Yes.
And to take a chance on young performers now is a big chance, because you're as good as your last show.
Yes.
And that's that. So that's where we feel we're
filling a gap.
We fit in, and everything that we've spoken about, the skill sets, the feeling of family, the feeling of belonging, the sheer joy of standing on that stage and it going click. All three of us in this room, at some point or other, we've walked out. There was the first time you walked on the stage, and the lights hit you, and you go, "Oh, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
this is what I'm supposed to be doing. That's what's been missing." Now, for me, that started when I was 11. I'm in a show at school, a boys' grammar school. It was The Quare Fella by Brendan Behan, and I was playing one of the junior prisoners in a Dublin jail. And we did the rehearsal. And I did rehearsal, and it was pain. And that. Then opening night, walked on there, lights, audience, and hello.
Yeah.
And that was me hooked. That's my drug of choice.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, the Peel Cloth Workers and QE2 weren't quite on the same level of productions that they probably are now.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really until I joined the Gale Force at age 10, I think it was, and was doing sort of private lessons with Barbara Gale, and we would put entries into the Guild every year. But then Peel Pantaloons came along, and I joined them. And I'd had a couple of years with Young Farmers before that as well, and being on the stage at the Gaiety with those lights and costumes and ridiculous makeup. I mean, who wears bright blue eyeshadow and red lipstick? I mean,
I've given it up.
Well, I'm going to give it up now.
But that was it. Yeah, get on stage with the Young Farmers at the Gaiety. Was like, oh yeah, no, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I see, and that's what I love about what I do working in school. You put a show on, you put a show together, and very often people turn up and who haven't seen them in lesson doing anything, and suddenly they're doing this thing, and you look at them and go, "You've got it, you've got the bug now, haven't you?" And you finish the show, and the first thing they do is they walk out and say, "When's the next one? So when do we do the next one?
Yeah,
I want to do that again. I want that to happen again," and that's marvellous. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, and my daughter's at Ballycameen now.
Yeah.
And she's been dancing with Christine Wilde and with Move It for a few years. And just a couple of weeks ago, she said, "Can I join the musical theatre class?" Yes!
Yes. Yep.
And she's excited because next year's Ballycameen's is a show year as well. So she's going to put herself down for that as well. So she's looking forward to that. So she's a chip off the old block.
Yeah, well, It's genetically speaking, it does go that way, and with you and the good lady, of course, it's deeply ingrained in the DNA, isn't it? And quite rightly so.
But you find yourself pleased for them, don't you? Because
Yes.
you know that that's the beginning of a lifetime of lovely stuff.
Yeah.
Great friendships, joy, absolute terror, and then laughing about it afterwards.
Yeah. I think my son's going to rebel and go and play football, though. So
Well, there's time.
my sons, neither of them have gone down the performing arts route. I don't understand that at all. Yeah.
Hopefully, when he gets to high school, he'll just go for rugby and then he'll get a proper sport.
Oh, yeah.
How old is he?
He is 7.
There's time.
Yeah, this time. Yeah,
Yeah.
he'll come around to it.
Yeah. So yeah, we're really looking forward to all of this now. It's
It's a surprise, actually, because usually at this stage I'm terrified.
Yeah.
I'm not frightened with this lot. They are really sure of what they're doing, and the enthusiasm is just lovely. I mean, to be in a room with them is just a joy. It really, I know I've said it before, but we like all of them as well, which is a bonus.
we did a fundraiser because we're a charity, and we rely upon sponsorship and fundraising and whatever. We did a fundraiser at the Peel Centenary Centre, and we invited all of the dance schools to come and do,
and the performing arts
and the performing arts schools. They all came along and did something, and our lot worked on a number from 6,
Right.
which isn't a show I know terribly well, but I knew of it, and I watched them come alive with.
Although we do have a problem now. They want to do 6, and then I had to look at the script.
Well, actually, they've just. I saw an announcement a couple of weeks ago that they've just released a teenage
Is it toned
version.
down a bit?
I would imagine so, a little
I
bit,
hope
yes.
so.
We might be able to tackle that
because
then.
it's a bit fruity.
It can be in places, yes. Yes.
A touch
I think that's
fruity.
what they liked. I think they were hoping they were going to get the fruity lines.
Well,
But no.
just no. They can wear their makeup, but that's it. So yeah, you got something else to say about the show?
I've got loads to say.
Go on then, say something else about the show.
The first thing is everybody really needs to come and see it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It will not be time wasted because it's so hysterically funny. It's fabulous from beginning to end. There isn't a boring moment in it.
Brilliant.
Every second has got something interesting happening.
The way we've done it is that basically the cast are hardly ever off the stage. It's technically it's very Brechtian in that it's empty stage. You see all the nuts and bolts. The cast move all of the scenery around. They virtually change costume on stage, and we start and we top and tail this show with them seeing them as just young actors, and they walk on not in character and then become the characters, and at the end of the show they drop the characters and just become themselves again, and looking a bit sort of what's just happened, as if the intervening hour and a bit has been some kind of delusion, Alice in Wonderland thing going on, and again they took that on board. I said we were doing the end. He said, well, what are we going to do for the curtain call? Because they're theatre kids, and. I said, well, this is what we do. We're walking on. We finished, and then I just want on a click, on a moment, I just want you to stop being Grand High Witch, stop and be yourself, and looking around, and then realising that the audience has been watching you, and then bowing.
Yeah.
And they went, ooh,
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
like that. Oh, that's a good idea. Ooh.
They've been very easy to direct, haven't they?
Oh yeah.
But the whole point of all this, apart from the fact that it's just a pleasure, is that in the summer we want to have a writers' workshop where they create their own scripts, enact it, and we want to put it all on YouTube.
Oh,
so
right.
that the next bit is learning how to perform on film.
Right.
The point of all this is to impart lots of skills so that when they reach a point where a decision has to be made, they know which part of this process suits them.
Yeah.
And for some of them, it's going to be every part that suits them.
Yeah.
And some are. I've been talking to some of them, and some of them are already talking about directing.
Yeah.
Liking the idea of being the person who makes it happen. And I don't know about you. I never, up until I went to university, I never saw myself as a director. I always thought I was going to be just a performer. I'm going to be a lovey, darling.
Yes.
And with jazz hands and stuff. And then one day I had to direct something, and it's like, oh, I tell them to do things, and they do it.
Yeah.
I like that. I can do that. It never feels like a chore. It never feels like there's a huge responsibility. It feels like you're part of a process, and you're just giving people opportunities to offer you options, and then you sort of cherry pick things out, and if they don't come up with something for themselves, you give them something, and then see where that goes.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting, isn't it? We worked every single day during the Easter holidays, and thought it would be a bit much. In fact, we could have done a lot more.
Yeah.
Because no one wanted to go home at the end of the day.
Fantastic.
It was.
Yeah.
we get to 3 o'clock, so
surprise.
we've got to go now.
Yeah.
But for us as well, Easter holidays, and you think, perhaps I can have a lie-in. No, we couldn't have a lie-in because we had to get to rehearsals.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was lovely. We have enjoyed every minute, haven't we?
And then it's slowly, as you do, introducing props and costumes, and I'm watching them go from so I get to use the puppet now, and I get to do this, so who's moving the table on? You are. Why? Because it's your table.
Yeah.
And you're going to move it on in character or not in character. And there's a scene in the Grand High Witch's bedroom, so there has to be a bed. So we improvise a bed with a table, but we've got this bedstead. And these two girls walk on with this bedstead and just hold it. And they came on, and I said, can you give that a bit more attitude? So they decided they were going to come on as a sassy bedstead. and it became the sassy bedstead scene. And they owned it. It was lovely. And those are the moments that the audience is going to be looking up and say, oh, there's a scene. Oh, my God, what are they doing?
Yeah.
And it's going to be great.
Brilliant. So it's at the Gaiety Theatre then, which is the 11th and 12th. So that's Wednesday and Thursday.
Yes.
Tickets then are available then from villagaiety.com.
Yes.
Yep.
Or by ringing 600 555 for the
Yes,
box
thank
office.
you. And every single penny goes to the next project.
Brilliant. So it's all goes back in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right. Well, before we let you go, where are we now? It's probably 18 months ago, getting on for that now. We started up a Spotify playlist. And this was a playlist that we decided to try and create our ultimate musical theatre playlist. So Neil King and I, when we set it up, we each put 10 songs of our own in to get the playlist going, because no one really wants to listen to a playlist with 2 songs.
Yeah.
So we chose 10 songs each, and these were songs that either we've performed, the favourites of ours from shows, or something that really means something to us. And then every person that's been on the podcast since then has added a song of their own. So let's have a quick look through the list and some of the ones that we've got. So David Artis, he recently chose The American Dream from Miss Saigon. Alex Toohey chose He's My Boy from Everybody's Talking About Jamie. Perio D chose Being Alive from Company. And Joe Hillard chose Me and the Sky from Come From Away. So, Chris, do you want to go first?
Right.
What's your addition for the playlist?
Well,
and why?
mine, at the moment, I've just started rehearsing Once.
Right.
Once the Musical, which is a great show, actor musicians on the stage. But I loved the film, which came out a few years back, and bought the album, bought the music, all that kind of stuff. And there is this song on there which is it's strange in the way it's put together, but it's called Gold.
Right.
And it is a love song, and it has strange imagery in it, but it is the most plaintive, beautiful piece of music. It stuck with me all the way through it, and my only regret with being in the show is that I get to sing it a cappella with the cast, but I don't get to sing it damn solo. Lorcan gets that. He's playing my son, or I'm playing his dad. That's the other way around.
Yes.
And he gets to do all the really good romantic songs, and I get to be his dad, sitting in the Hoover shop.
Yeah.
Right. But I love that song. Yeah, I really love that song.
And he sings it at home
Yeah.
all the time.
Because you play the
So
guitar,
now
don't
I
you?
love it too.
I do, yeah. They got me playing mandolin for this.
Oh,
Which I can play mandolin, but I keep telling them I'm not a mandolinist because that's a different kettle of fish.
yeah.
So I play guitar and keyboards and stuff like that. And that's going to be a great show as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because that's a great cast again as well.
Yeah.
And there are people there there are some people who are fairly new, some people who are well known at the moment, but there are a few people there who haven't been around for a while and are coming back, like Gráinne Jock, and it's good to see her back on stage because she's great.
Yeah, and there are people who are just coming into it, who are basically coming in from like the open mics and the folk clubs and the Irish sessions.
Yeah.
Who haven't done acting before, and are sort of getting into that side of things, and you bring one set of skills, but you develop another set of skills alongside, and it's going to be great. But that's my choice, gold.
And is it true there's going to be a working bar on stage as well?
We are working on that at the moment.
Excellent.
Everyone will want to be in it.
And apparently, we're going to let if we can, we're going to let the audience up on the stage, and there will be a full-on Dublin session happening with the diddly eye and all this stuff. Like
Good bit of crack.
Yeah, it'd be great. Merchandising.
Fantastic. Susannah, what's your choice then?
My choice is "We Love to Boogie" from Billy Elliot.
Oh,
now,
fantastic.
every dance teacher has at least one Billy Elliot.
Yeah.
And that's not really the reason I chose it. But I just thought I'd put that in because it sounds like professional. But the real reason I chose it is because of Julie Walters' amazing flying zoot suit. Because every dance teacher, when I was at that place where she is in the film, had one of those.
Yeah.
We all had one. We all had the bun. Some of us had the fag, some of us didn't. But now, whenever that comes on, it takes me right back to that. And I love that.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast today. We wish you and all the cast at Yn Draamey all the very, very best. And we look forward to speaking to you again sometime soon.
Thank you
you very much.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Since our last episode, the Olivier Awards have come and gone and saw performances from two of our homegrown performers. The first was Sam Box, who performed Let It Go from Frozen the Musical, and the second was former podcast guest Perry O'Dea, who performed along with the cast of the UK tour of Anything Goes. In the awards themselves, the musical theatre categories were dominated by the revival of Cabaret from the Kit Kat Club at the Playhouse Theatre, taking home 7 of the 11 awards they were nominated for. The winning categories were Best Musical Revival, Best Sound Design, Lisa Sadovy as Best Supporting Actress in a Musical, Elliot Levy as Best Supporting Actor in a Musical, Eddie Redmayne as Best Actor in a Musical, Jessie Buckley as Best Actress in a Musical, and Rebecca Frecknell as Best Director. I'm also happy to say that Back to the Future the Musical won Best New Musical. On the straight theatre side of things, there were many different winners. However, the standout production was Life of Pi at the Wyndham Theatre, which took home 5 awards for Best Set Design, Best Lighting Design, Best New Play. Hiran Abassekeret, apologies for the pronunciation, he picked up the Best Actor, and Best Actor in a Supporting Role went to the 7 actors playing the tiger, which is fantastic. And if you've not seen it or any of the pictures, it's played in the same way as Joey the Horse in War Horse. On April 25th, Sam Box also performed in a concert titled For the First Time and Forever at the New York Pop's 39th birthday gala at New York's Carnegie Hall, alongside Kristen Bell, Josh Gad and Santino Fontana, who voiced Anna, Olaf and Prince Hans in the Frozen films, and Patty Murin and Cassie Levy, who played Anna and Elsa in the original Broadway production. The concert honoured the work of Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, the husband and wife songwriting duo behind the award-winning music for the Frozen movies and the musical, along with songs in the musicals Avenue Q, The Book of Mormon and In Transit, the Disney movie Coco and the Marvel TV series WandaVision. In other news, on Tuesday the 19th of April, the UK Pantomime Association hosted the 2022 Pantomime Awards at the Trafalgar Theatre in London's West End, and it was hosted by Christopher Biggins. During the 2021-22 season, 46 judges saw 207 pantomimes across the UK. The Gaiety Theatre's pantomime Jack and the Beanstalk was nominated for Best Sound Design and won. So massive congratulations to Manx Theatre regular Alex Linney and all involved at Shown Productions. The 22nd of April 2022 will go down in history as a massive day for Manx-born actor Joe Locke, as that was the launch day of the Netflix adaptation of Alice Oseman's webcomic Heartstopper. Joe is starring in the lead role of Charlie Spring, having been chosen out of 10,000 other teenagers who applied for the role. It's had over 52 million views in its first week alone and been watched for 23.9 million hours this last week alone. And the show is currently 5th most watched TV series on Netflix in their global chart and holds a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So far I've only managed to watch the first couple of episodes, but most people I know have binged the whole series in 1 or 2 sittings and have said it is fantastic. So if you haven't watched it yet, get on it and get it watched. It's brilliant. In a recent interview with the independent newspaper, not the Manx one, Joe said, "It shows the really nice things about being queer. I think a lot of queer people growing up feel like they don't deserve love because they don't have access to the same dating pool or support as straight people do. And so Heartstopper is lovely in that it gives that to the queer characters." Well done, Joe. If we can, we'll certainly try and catch up with Joe on a future episode. You may remember a couple of months ago I shared some posts on Facebook that the Manx Operatic Society and Centre Stage Productions had both been put forward to the regional finals of the NODA Awards after winning a number of awards for their productions of Les Miserables and The Addams Family. Well, I'm happy to say they happened last weekend, and Centre Stage Productions came away with the award for Best Show for Addams Family. So congratulations to everyone at Centre Stage Productions. So, with that, we bring episode 34 to a close. Thanks once again to Chris and Susannah for joining me on the podcast, and we wish Yn Draamey Community Theatre all the very best for Roald Dahl's The Witches, which is running at the Gaiety Theatre on the 11th and 12th of May. If you haven't done so already, make sure you get your tickets now from villagaiety.com or by calling 600 555. Remember to like and follow our social media pages to get notifications of upcoming episodes and events. Don't forget to check out our Spotify playlist by searching for Manx Theatre Podcast, and that's all one word. If you have any events that you'd like us to talk about or promote in a future episode, you can contact us through our social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com. All that remains is to say thanks for listening, and I hope you join me again next time on the Manx Theatre Podcast. I've been Neil Callin. Goodbye.
The Manx Theatre Podcast, taking a look behind the scenes of Manx Theatre.
And happier than actors' life for me.